Hi class, how are you today? Oh my god, that's horrible. Why would you even tell me that? Let's just move on. The learning target for today is to solve systems of equations using elimination. So, as I mentioned before in my last videos, 3 different ways to solve systems that we're going to deal with. First was graphing, second was substitution, and now the third is elimination. This one's my favorite, and it depends on the person which one people think is easier, and oftentimes it actually depends on the kind of problem to make it which one's easier. So you may think elimination's easier in one type of problem, but then you go to a different problem, and then substitution or graphing could be easier. So today we're going to learn how to solve systems of equations using elimination. Let's get started. Alright, so here's the first problem. It's a system of equations. 3x minus 2y equals negative 7. 2x minus 5y equals 10. Now to do elimination, unlike substitution, elimination has to be in this form, where x and y are both on the left side of the equals sign, and the number that's by itself is on the right side. So if it's not in that form, you have to start off by bringing x and y to the same side. In this case, it's already in that form, so what we do now is we pick a variable that we want to eliminate. And so we either pick the x or the y. So it doesn't matter really which one you pick. Sometimes it's easier to pick a certain one. Usually it's the one that takes the less steps to change. So what we want to do here, I'll just, for the fun of it, pick the y's. So let's say I pick the y's to eliminate. So for the y's, the number in front has to be exactly the same, and the signs have to be different. So we need one positive and one negative. So in this case, we want to multiply both equations. So we take the entire equations and we're going to multiply both of them. But we're going to multiply them by different things. So first we say, all right, here's a 2 and here's a 5. What number can both of these numbers multiply into? This is very similar to finding common denominators when trying to add or subtract fractions. So if this is a 2 and this is a 5, well, they can both multiply into 10. So we want y to become, the number in front of y to become 10. So what do you have to multiply 2 by to get 10? Well, you have to multiply by 5. And what do you have to multiply 5 by to get 10? 2. Then, notice that these are both negative. So in order to change this equation correctly, we need one of them to be positive. It doesn't matter which one. For the fun of it, let's just say the top one. So that means we're going to have to multiply the top one by a negative 5 instead of a positive 5. Now use the distributive property and multiply everything by negative 5 in the top one and 2 in the bottom one. So negative 5 times 3x is going to give you negative 15x. Negative 5 times negative 2y will give you a positive 10y. And negative 5 times negative 7 will give you a positive 35. In the bottom one, we have 2 times 2x, which will give you 4x. 2 times negative 5y, which will give you negative 10y. And 2 times 10, which will give you 20. Now that we have the two equations and these are opposites, same number but different signs, now we add the two equations together. So negative 15x plus 4x is a negative 11x. 10y plus negative 10y, well, those are opposites, so those cancel. They become 0, but they're gone. And that should always happen with elimination. If you do a problem and one of the variables doesn't eliminate, then you did something wrong. And you should go back and see what you did wrong. Because every time, these two should eliminate each other. Or if you chose the x's would eliminate. You should end up with just one variable after you add them. And now we add the 35 and the 20. And that'll give us 55. So now we've got negative 11x equals 55. So we divide both sides by negative 11. Using the division property of equality. And you get x equals negative 5. Now that you have x, you can go back into one of the original equations and solve for y. So now this is back to the steps of substitution. So we've got either equation, doesn't matter which equation you pick. I'll just go back to the first one, the very top. So we've got just blot that off. So 3x, but now instead of x, it's negative 5, minus 2y equals negative 7. So that'll give us negative 15 minus 2y equals negative 7, and then we solve for y. So negative 15 minus 2y plus 15 equals negative 7 plus 15. So negative 2y equals 8. Divide both sides by negative 2. And that gives you y equals negative 4. So we have our answers. X equals negative 5, y equals negative 4, which as a point would be the point negative 5, negative 4. So this is one of the more difficult problems you'll come across. A lot of times the variables may already be the same, and you might only have to multiply by a negative. Sometimes you won't have to multiply by anything. Sometimes you'll only have to multiply one equation by something. It all depends, but this is the more difficult kinds of problems that you'll end up with, where you have to multiply both of them and change the sign. Alright, that's it for the lesson today. Once again, please take notes on the entire lesson, and right now, take a picture of your notes, submit them to eBackpack. Have a good night.